A big round of applause for Bilbao. Natalia, Costa del Sol more or less invented European tourism in the late 40s. All those new aircraft started bringing package tourists to Spain. Now tourism is a completely different shape than it had even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and sustainability is at the heart of that.
That's right. Yeah, and in Costa del Sol, as you said, we're the pioneers of the tourism industry. It started in Torremolinos, my town, my hometown.
Oh, wow.
I was born and raised, so I'm very proud of that. But yeah, a long, time from then. And I would say that after 2020, we have received like all this big demand on exploring the destination, which not many people know that Costa del Sol it's not just the sun and coast, it's way much more. And we are basically the whole province of Malaga, more than 100 municipalities, and most of them are in the inland, and then some of them are little villages, whitewashed villages, very Mediterranean, and that's something that we try to do together with the tour operators, with the agencies, with the whole industry, to try to educate basically on letting them know that there is so much more, a lot of tradition, history, culture. Going through that, we are also, in terms of sustainability, we are working right now in a certification together with Green Destinations, and we started recently, a couple of months ago, and we're working with different 50 companies, hotels, rental cars, mostly are hotels, in which they get an auto evaluation, and after that they actually go through a whole process of training and education in terms of working on how to be sustainable, but mainly saving water and residues, and you're not producing so many residues, and offsetting CO2. Then we have the calculator. We have we had that from 3 years ago, which is working very well. We have one calculator for offsets, carbon footprint calculator for companies and also for visitors. So we have two different ones. From that, we have a big program reforesting some areas in the province of Malaga, and it's been a great success. Calculators maybe are not the best way to make people...
It's a fairly blunt instrument,
but it's there, and it makes people aware also that we need to be more responsible.
Great.
That's it. And then there are also beautiful practices like Sabor a Malaga, which is like flavors of Malaga. This is another certification program where we use all the products. It's from the province of Malaga, and this is hotels, restaurants, and shops also would be selling or using all local products.
Pere, I'm going to bring you in. Salou is famous, a very justified reputation as being the beach, the best beach, the beach of Europe. People would say the best beach. Everyone in Spain would say, I have a better one. Salou is more than a beach.
Yes, it's true. Salou has 25 very beautiful beaches and coves. And just this year, the newspaper 20 Minutes, the second more read newspaper in Spain, has selected one of our beaches, the best beach in Spain this year, 2025. So we are very glad about that. But sun and beach is not enough. Some years ago, we are working about have more tourist product for the tourist. Salou is a destination sportive. We have a lot of tournaments and organize the rally, international rally, Spain rally, other specialist sportive. Gastronomy. You have to know that Catalonia is the this year is the region of the gastronomy in the world, and Salou has represented Catalonia in one of the regions that has the best gastronomy in Spain, Galicia. So we have a very, very good gastronomy offer too. But we are working about the sustainability in three axes: environmental, social, and economic, because we want to become one of the best city in Spain for tourism. But the residents are very, very important. Let me say that Salou is on the top of the cities in Spain that has the more well-being for the residents and, of course, for the visitors too. When a tourist comes to us, has a very good feedback of their experiences. So they come back. Many Irish people come to Salou not only once, more times that has been for their holidays. The economic sustainability is very important because Salou is an seasonal destination. Now we work more months, and companies, flights to Reus and companies to operators want to work more time in Salou. This October, our occupation was very good. Till in November, 80 and 90% of the hotels has the occupation in Salou. So let me see that the relationship between sustainability and off-season tourism, both strategic reinforce each other in our city. Greater environmental and social sustainability enhances the destination's quality and attractiveness beyond the peak season. Off-season tourism helps maintain a stable flow of tourists, reducing the environmental and social pressure during the summer months. Together, they contribute to balanced, inclusive, and resilient tourism model.
Okay.
But we have sportive tourism, we have year-round family tourism, conferences and event tourism, culture and heritage tourism, festival offering. You have to know that Salou is the capital of Catalonia, cultural capital of Catalonia this year too. And the proximity to Portaventura brings us an opportunity different of the other. So we can work 365 days a year. And because here there are some tourist actors, let me to know you that you have a very important opportunity for business out of summer season. Summer season is very important, of course. We receive more than 2 million of tourists in summer, but out of summer is a very good opportunity for you and for the town too.
Great. All right, thank you. And that is seasonality and dispersal from our two Spanish contributors. We'll be returning to those subjects because as we dig deeper into that, we'll find probably more opportunities. I'm going to come to Ken. You, chicken or egg, did your customers say, we want sustainability in your product, or did you as a company decide it's time to go green?
Yeah, so thanks, Eoghan. Firstly, our customer base is predominantly American, and through our own market research.
How many Donald Trump supporters?
It remains to be confirmed.
Sorry, you don't have to answer that.
No.
That was unfair.
But the reality is, through our own market research, we'd seen that sustainability isn't high on the agenda for the demographic of customer that we predominantly deal with. But that's not to say they don't want to see it. And what it's led us to do as a company was we said, well, we're going to do the right thing, and taking action on sustainability is the right thing to do. Regardless, my life would be easier if I could show a tangible commercial benefit by saying customers are demanding this.
Yes.
I don't have that tangible benefit, but we are still ploughing ahead with all the work that we're doing. But ultimately, what it's also made us realise is that the customer doesn't really care if the word sustainable is used. They just want the industry to be sustainable. They don't need to know. They just need to know that we are doing the work. It doesn't need to be called sustainable tourism. They just need to know that hotels are operating efficiently. They're cognizant of water usage, energy usage. They're cognizant of waste management. They're cognizant of their role within the destination in which they're located in terms as an employer. But what does that mean for the residents of the area as well? People want to see that happen. They don't necessarily need to see it being labelled. So we've been ploughing ahead with our work. I joined the organisation in April of last year. They'd already kind of hit the ground running prior to that. And that all started on with having an idea of where is our impact coming from. So I know sustainability goes beyond carbon emissions, and it absolutely does. But it is handy to know from a carbon emissions perspective where they're coming from. So it's no surprise the results show that the majority come from how our guests get to our destinations, which is on a plane. And it's great to hear Donald share the plans around Aer Lingus. And I must note that Aer Lingus have been really supportive in helping us in our sustainability and getting a better handle on, where aviation sits in all of that. So majority of emissions comes from aviation. That's how our guests get to our destinations. That accounts for approximately 82%. Right? And then you'd have approximately 16% from the ground. So that's our coach, hotels, tourist attractions, restaurants, you name it, what we deliver to our guests on the ground. And then just 2% is from our own company office operations. But the interesting thing about that is we've the most control over our own office emissions. And while they're only 2%, it's important we address them because we need to lead by example. Next area that we have is sphere of influence. The most sphere of influence is on the ground product. So how do we engage with our hotels, our coach transportation providers? We don't own anything as a tour operator. We don't own the assets. We're wholly reliant on our supplier partners. And then thirdly, the area that is most complicated and the one Donal alluded to is around aviation. And I will say, I think it's important that we as a tour operator acknowledge the enormity of the task that faces aviation, and actually we possibly need to step up a bit more to go, well, if aviation can't deliver the guests to our destinations, we don't have a business, so maybe we need to support them a little bit more because of the scale of the challenge that they face to reach those targets, particularly around SAF production. It's
abysmal.
It is, yeah.
All the SAF production in Europe would fuel 1% of Ryanair's flights. That's all the available SAF. It's as a policy. Donald addressed it as a policy. He couldn't mention the R word. He addressed it as a policy. There isn't a policy. There's been a lot of talk by politicians and no incentive. And you talk about the American has not really been interested in sustainability. It's not high, but they've actually given more support to SAF in America than Europe has, which is a great anomaly in my mind.
But through the Inflation Reduction Act, it has lent itself to a good solid performance in terms of SAF production.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a little bit of that has been undone, but it's still much stronger than any one of us could have expected.
I'm going to come back to you on the suppliers and the hotels. Yeah. Pat, you're a little bit different from everyone else here.
I am.
Because, no, you're wonderful, I know, and you're different in that sense as well, but your entire mission is sustainability as a company. Isn't that right?
That's right, Eoghan. Agus gur mágad as an cuireadh nniu anseo. Mór an orm dumsa. Thank you for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here. I work with forests and with Coillte, the State Forest Company. And forestry is an old business like travel and tourism. People have travelled for centuries and forests have been around for centuries. But more recently, we're thinking about the impact we have on our environment.
and how the natural landscape and the natural environment is managed and how it's managed as a destination for people to visit. So we heard a lot about sustainable travel here, but sustainability at the depth. We want to take a break. We're stressed out. We want to meet new people, eat new food, but we want experiences as well. We want memorable trips and the things that live in the memory. And for me, oftentimes that happens experiences with nature. So we can get out, maybe leave the crowded streets behind, spend some time in the forest, less of screen time on your phone and a bit more green time. So for forests, like I was delighted to hear Pere's talk about sustainability in Salou, the social, the economic, the environmental. And in forestry, we've added another one, the climate to that as well. So we try to manage our forests to produce wood that helps with decarbonising the built environment, to help with climate, growing our trees longer and restoring habitats, protecting nature, so designating forests for nature and wildlife. How much of our forest should be for nature and wildlife? We're at 30% today. Our ambition is to get to 50%. Is that enough? Is that too much? And then lastly, and what we're here today about, for people, how do we attract people to the outdoors sustainably? How can we encourage them to interact with wildlife in a sustainable way? Coillte have 6,000 forests around Ireland, and we get about 18 million visits each year. So at present, we have 250 forests for recreation. These are forests with marked trails or car parks or playgrounds, 12 forest parks, and 6 mountain bike centres. So we want to double the number of recreation forests we have, to invite people in, to experience nature, to connect with it, and do that in a sustainable way.
There was sorry, Pere?
Yes, no, I absolutely agree with you. I think that nature is very important. In Salou, we have work to recover our coastal.
Yes.
So we have created more than 10, I think it's 11 park in the coastal path. And we have a coastal path with 43 viewpoints. Our landscape and seascape, it's so beautiful, it's wonderful, it's Mediterranean. I have said that we have 25 beaches and coves. No? We have only 2 urban beaches, the other small coves, and we say semi-public
Semi-natural
beaches, because no cars, only nature is so wonderful. So is the coastal path of Salou is one of the most important recovered of nature in our city. But in interior, in the city, we have many parks of pine trees, etc., Mediterranean wood. Wonderful. And that is very important for us.
I'm going to come into Pat, but I'm bringing in Natalia on this very important subject. People do not realise how much green, preserved natural space there is in Spain, because we associate it with Santa Ponsa and nightclubs and beaches. Costa del Sol has amazing natural resources.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have one national park, and we have plenty of mountains. Well, Sierra de las Nieves is one of the most beautiful parks that you can actually enjoy by the water, basically. So the thing is that not many people know that from the beach to like 30 minutes you go up. I know there are popular villages like Mijas or Frigiliana, but if you go in more into the inland, then you're all surrounded by nature, and this is so close. This is something that we are promoting from a tourist board perspective, because I know that we all are talking from our own perspective, and as a tourist board, we have been not promoting the summer for many years already. So what we do, whether they are campaigns or any kind of promotions like fun trips, press trips, all of them, we are focusing on the low season or slow season, or let's call it the winter time. So this is working really well. We'll know that the weather is changing very fast, and that's what we try to promote, which is the inland, it's the forest, it's
inland
going into,
and out of season,
and there
shoulder
is
season.
a lot of options, a lot of boutique hotels in the middle of nowhere, all the products that are locals. When you go to these little villages that are also surrounded by forest, They are so hospitable and welcoming. And this, we work together with the local, all locals, all the DMCs as well. This imagination that they have creating new products, this is how we work. And we have to communicate with the Irish people, with the markets.
Laura might have the proportion, but I think Spain has one of the highest proportions of nature reserve in Europe.
Yeah, one-third. One-third of the territory is protected.
1/3 of the territory is protected. It's one of the highest in Europe.
One is the highest in
The highest in Europe. It's astonishing. And, we have all these images of Spain and it's layer and layer and layer of beauty upon beauty. But that's one of the ones that we, again, under today's subject is really important. There was an Oscar-nominated movie way back before some of the people in this room were born called The Accidental Tourist. You have the accidental tourist attraction. You're really not in the tourist business, but now you have one of the most visited tourist attractions in the country in Avondale.
We do. Yeah, exactly. So we have 18 million visits to our forest. So how do you manage this number sustainably? And we create these recreational forests. And one of our ambitions was, among those recreational forests, like we heard from Laura, can we create a really world-class experience for people? And so we worked with our partners, with Fáilte Ireland, with EAK, and we came up with a beautiful treetop walk and a viewing tower. We've talked a lot about sustainability today, which is really important. The other key thing that's made, this is in Avondale Forest Park in County Wicklow. It was opened in July 22 by Uachtar O'Nahara and Michael D. Higgins. It gets about between 350 and 400,000 visitors per year. Before we put that attraction in, it got about 20,000. So just to give you an idea of the visitor uplift by building that in a sustainable way. The other key part at Avondale...
The best bit is at the end you go down by a big slide down from the end.
Exactly. The biggest slide in Ireland. You can slide all the way down. But
the inner child in all of us.
Exactly. The other, for me though, the other part of Avondale is really important is accessibility. So you can arrive in Avondale. You can use a wheelchair or a pram from the start of the experience right to the very end and around again. So it's fully family accessible for old and for young. It won Ireland's first age-friendly destination, which means it's friendly for all ages in the family, for kids and for people of limited mobility. No slope, even as you go up the tower, is higher than 6 degrees, so it's an easy walk. And every 100 metres there's a bench if you want to just take a breath. Yeah, and there's wheelchairs available in sight. And as you walk along that treetop walk, there's little signs that kind of gently explain the benefits that forests deliver for the people of Ireland and all the people of the world forests do this for. So how forests help us with climate change, how they're homes for wildlife, for nature, how they're great places for people to visit, and if we manage them well, we can take wood out sustainably and replant those forests. So we're trying to embed sustainability and accessibility into those new destinations, and I think that's what people really want. So that coastal path in Salou, people, that's not in their mind straight away. Do I go there for a coastal walk? But when they learn about it, that could be the memorable experience of the holiday, a quiet walk along the coast with nature, the wild birds and the ocean on one side. It sounds fantastic.
And that interests a lot to people because in 3 months, in the coastal path, more or less, 800,000 people in 3 months go to the coastal path. Wow. And that is good because people normally they want to be concentrated. And this is a strategy to disconcentrate the people in other places of the city. So it's more, your breath better. But nature interests a lot, more than we think.
And Ken, let's talk about suppliers, about hotels. The cynics out there, and I'm not saying I'm one, or there may be one or two, there mightn't be any in the room, would say for a lot of hotels, it's just an excuse to stop changing the sheets.
Yeah, I'm glad to say it has certainly moved on. Although that observation was probably warranted at some point because it was the only thing that a lot of hotels were doing. Thankfully, that's not the case now. I come from a hotel background as well, I'm a little bit defensive when it comes to the hotels. But And, you know, through our supply chain engagement, this has been a big piece of our sustainability, is how do we bring our supply chain on board, or how do we better understand as a tour operator where they're at with their sustainability. So we started a pilot program. We brought on board 7 suppliers across all segments of the industry, so hotels, visitor attractions, transportation and aviation. Aer Lingus being our aviation representative. And we convened that group to help inform us about where they're at with sustainability and what their particular sector was facing in terms of challenges and opportunities. So that helped us shape then what we call a sustainability supplier charter, which outlines what we would like to see our suppliers do in the coming years. We're not mandating it. We're doing this in a collaborative manner.
And what does it say? What sort of things are you saying?
It covers everything from environmental, social and governance. So what are you doing to reduce your impact on the environment? What are you doing to improve your positive social impact? And how do you run your business? You know, at a very basic level, make sure it adheres to all national and European and international laws, but it goes way beyond that. What are you doing for your employees? How are you taking care of their health and well-being? It goes into that level of detail. And we've sent that out. We started with Ireland. It's our longest standing destination, but we started with Spain this year for the first time in the company's over 90-year history, which has been very exciting for us, and it's done very well. But we started with Irish-based suppliers. They get the charter. They can provide a bit of feedback as well, but ultimately we're looking for them to sign it, and it gives us an idea of where they're at. Secondly to that then, we have invested as a business in a software as a solution platform called Because. It's a tech startup that allows for relatively easy data collection. So we are onboarding our suppliers and we're saying, whatever data you have available around E, S and G, you have access to this platform free. We've paid for it. And you can upload whatever data you have. Allows us as a tour operator to see at a glimpse where our different suppliers are at. And it gives us the opportunity to go, okay, who might need a little bit of additional support? Who's doing really well? The ones that are doing really well, is there any way we could maybe recognise that through increased business with them, etc. But it is becoming a big part of how we make decisions. So just back to your original question about hotels, they are doing much more. Okay, initially the focus has been on improved energy efficiencies, reduction in water usage and better segregation of waste. The cynic could say that all leads to cost savings, but you know what? So what if it does? Like, why can't they get the benefit? It's also having a very positive impact on the environment. So it's natural that's where they're going to start. But it's moving beyond that now. And they're getting into the space now where hotels are investing big money on-site renewable energy schemes, you name it, investing in training and development of their staff. They're looking at who they purchase products and services from, oftentimes making decisions that come at a higher cost to them as a business. They're looking at how do we reduce the volume of packaging that comes into our hotel. That can also come at a cost. These are the areas hotels are focusing on now, and it's wonderful to see as a tour operator.
And in the big bad world of P&L and Excel spreadsheets, do you get the money back? We had, when I was saying earlier, that in certain markets, Canada, Scandinavia, they are interested. They're going to ask that, and are you sustainable before they commit and pay more for it? Is the money to be made back? Will it be paid? Will there be a payback for this? Commercial reward for being sustainable?
The short answer is yes. From a hotel's perspective, yeah. Because the costs of, energy costs are going up. So their bills are currently higher. The cost of renewables, as they bring on-site renewable energy or tap into renewable energy, those costs are coming down. So there is a positive payback. Spain is ahead of Ireland in terms of renewable energy production, which is great because it means when we work with Spain, they're already tapping into a better renewable energy market than we are here, so there's a lot of work to be done at a government level to ramp up the speed of renewables in Ireland. But yes, there's certainly a positive payback for hotels, and it came up at the recent Irish Hotels Federation conference. They're also they're also able to access, you know, lower interest rate loans for sustainable initiatives. So, you know, the momentum is shifting, and it is wonderful to see.
Same question, Natalia. You have all this amazing work for sustainability. Are the customers responding? And what markets are interested and asking you how sustainable are you as a region?
Well, basically, that's been happening all over because I get to travel. I get as a, you know, we go to many other markets, like Scandinavians, let's say they're not top on the list here.
They're the most concerned.
They're very, very much concerned about how sustainable we are in the destination, and you can actually feel it. And as I said, this is not something that is happening because we are doing something about it. It's a demand. It's already happening organically, meaning that the final customer is already asking for us to be sustainable in certain ways, in different ways, like going to local places, buying, shopping locally, and also being authentic, going to the authentic and local experiences. But I would say it's true that the US is not the top, but Canada is, I would say so. And then, you know, I'm in the UK and Irish market as well, so I would say that I've been listening more and more.
We're growing.
I want to see if there is some kind of certification depending on the company or, you know, or the market. But yeah, definitely.
Pere, you have all these little villages in the mountains. Sometimes people spend a lot of time, have a great time in Salou and never leave the town. Again, authentic Spain, the real village Spain that is living like it did 100 years ago is only up the road.
Well, I think Salou is always for discover, not only for the tourists, for the residents too. Salou is a modern city, it's true, but we are a millennium heritage. Now we are working to recover our heritage. It means that we are working about new product, the history, the heritage, and that is very interesting. And people don't know that we have a very important natural heritage too, not only on the coastal path, but in the end of the municipality. We have, for example, dune. I think no people know that we have dune, and we have many things of the prehistorical period. We have a lot of things to show, and of course experiences. Salou is a very interesting city for tourism, but around of Salou, it's wonderful. Catalonia has a 12th region of wine. Around Salou, 8. And one of the best in Europe, not only in Spain, in Europe. We were talking about that, no? We have the Delta del Ebro, that is the biosphere protection mundial. It's very beautiful. It's 8 kilometers only. So the around of Salou is incredible. Salou and around, we are very, very strong as attract for tourism.
When I first went there, it was June, July, August. Everything is changing. You mentioned in your opening contribution that the hotels in October are now very high occupancy. Are you a 12-month destination? Because 2 or 3 things went against you. Reus was always seasonal. It was always a summer destination from Ireland. But you have Barcelona as a nearby airport. And
we are promoting our city, our municipality, not only in summer. Summer is very important. It's a familiar tourism is very important. But the promoting now is to show that Salou is alive 365 days a year. And we have many possibilities and offers for experiences of the tourism, not only in summer, out of summer.
It is 22 degrees in Solo today.
Now,
so,
yes.
So this is probably well. Okay, we won't take it down. Pat, why are we here?
Exactly.
But next week's conference is going to be in Solo. Pat, I think people, not you, but I think some people in culture would be much happier if there were no visitors in the forest, because it would make them easier to manage. You're in the business of managing forests, not letting people trample over what is sometimes a very fragile and vulnerable environment. Is that argument still, is there an advantage in having people coming into your forests?
Yeah, I would think there is. And I think the days of putting a red rope around something important and say, stay out, this is important for nature, or don't go there, that's not inclusive anymore. And that accessibility and inclusivity is really important. So having people connect with nature on their experience on their holiday is really important. Delighted to hear about the reforestation in Costa del Sol. You know, when people learn about these activities that are happening, I think it engages them more and they want to travel and see it and experience it. So the days of saying, no, stay out, don't worry, it's all okay, I'm happy to say are long behind us. And we've gone to the point now in forestry where we put our plans, like the Spanish state forests do. We open our plans to the public and we invite submissions in, how this forest should be managed, what you'd like to see more of. It doesn't mean we can always do it, but we do invite comments in, and people do like to engage with that. And I think ultimately you get to that shared model. In Ireland, our forest cover is very low. We're about 11%. Yeah. The European average is 40%, and I did my homework, it's 37% in Spain. Okay. So very close to the European average, but 4 times more forest than we have here in Ireland. So maybe 4 times the opportunity, I might think. 50% of the forests in Ireland are state-owned. In Spain, that's only about 25%. So about 75% of the forests are privately owned. But what's really encouraging in Spain is when they're privately owned and the state-owned forests, it encourages people to work and stay in rural communities. So you have villages and towns, they have wonderful industries like collecting pine cones or taking resin from trees or hunting, and their main activities. We might have lost a bit of that in Ireland, we've lost our forest culture, so that's maybe a journey we need to take in time to get back to that, where we live and use the forest in a sustainable way, but in a living landscape. So to answer your question, Owen, the more people that come in, probably the better.
Awareness.
Even with the headaches.
It's all back to awareness.
It's all about awareness. So how can we help sustainability? We spoke about that in the last panel. So what can people do? People like sustainability, they're not sure what to do. So even if it's the very passive, the leave no trace principles, try and be as gentle as you can, or encouraging people to get involved in a beach clean or to get involved in the local community there. And that's a real rewarding travel experience, because you felt like you've given something back a little bit when you've been there.
Instagram goes up and you go back and tell your friends.
Well, yeah, the hits just go through the roof. Yeah, exactly.
It's what Jose was saying, the empty Spain syndrome. You know,
yeah, exactly.
If the industries, if the jobs are there, in rural areas will not empty out. Codienem fast. The forests were all cut down, and very quickly, in a period in the 1600s, we used to be one of the most heavily forested countries.
That's right.
In Europe, and now we've so little. You say 25 are open to the public, and you're going to double that. Did I hear you correctly?
All of our forests are open to the public. So we have 6,000 forests. We have an open forest policy, so everyone can come. We ask them to follow the leave no trace principles. We have 250 forest parks, or recreational forests, excuse me. So that's some infrastructure, a trail, a map, to give you some encouragement, because we found that if people arrive at a forest and there's no sign and just a walk going in, they're not as inclined to use it if there isn't a map. How long will it be? Is it steep? Is it difficult? Will I get lost? So those 250 recreation forests we want to double to 500. And they will be close to towns and villages and communities. And ultimately, you'll get to a point of shared ownership. And this is happening already. Communities like Moat Park in Roscommon or Baleek Wood in Mayo, where the community take a great interest in their urban forest. And they want to see how it's managed. A great example of that, it's got dark now, but before it got dark, if you looked out the window there on the mountains in Dublin, you can see the trees on the top. And all those trees were planted in the 50s and 60s to produce wood. Trees planted in a straight line, let's grow timber and build houses from it. But as the population of Dublin increased and Dublin got bigger and bigger, the mountains got closer and closer, and more people were using the forest. So we worked with our partners in the county councils and said, we need to change the management of these forests because so many people use them. So move away from primarily one for wood production to one for nature conservation and wildlife and for recreation. So encourage visits. So I'm happy to say, Fáilte Ireland now say, when you come to Dublin, go and visit the Dublin Mountain Forest. It's a reason to attract visitors to Ireland. And Spain has fantastic examples of this, 1/3 of the country managed for nature and wildlife. And again, do people know that? How do we communicate those credentials as a real key reason to visit? And to embed that into sustainability of travel would be a wonderfully welcome addition.
And the indigenous trees, all of those were planted for quick growth.
Correct.
Indigenous trees, are they now making a comeback?
Yeah, so the Dublin Mountains is a great example. Ireland is a really good place to grow trees. You plant conifer trees here in the ground, and about 35 years later, you have a tree as big as a 100-year-old tree in Scandinavia. So the trees jump out of the ground, they grow quickly and they absorb a lot of carbon as they do. But productive conifers are not as good for nature and wildlife as native trees. So in the Dublin Mountains, we're gradually replacing those productive conifers with native trees, smaller clear fells, maybe 1 or 2 hectares, or continuous cover forestry, leaving trees in situ all the time and taking them out individually, while at the same time building mountain bike trails, adding more walks, opportunities for local business, small coffee shops can appear and mobile coffee is happening. So encouraging people to come and connect with nature, encouraging people as another good reason to visit Dublin, the ocean and the mountains right beside each other. Here's a great reason, like your coastal path. Here's a good reason to visit Dublin. Take the Lewis out and walk up. So that's to try and change the management in those key areas to promote sustainability.
Do you want to come in again, Pere? Yes.
No,
Yeah,
I was thinking about I think you say that climatic refuges with the forest, climatic refuges for the peak of the hot.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have created several of them in Salou. Yeah.
Oh wow!
For people, when it is very hot, people can go there.
That's a subject for a lively debate now.
I think nature is very important. For us, nature is very important.
And Ken, when you mentioned the demographic, these guys that come over with CIE tourists are not hiking up Errigal anytime soon. So what sustainable sort of activities are they interested in? Or
Avondale.
Yeah, they could certainly do Avondale, for sure, absolutely. You have me sold on that one, Pat. You know what's interesting is that some of the most highly rated experiences that we get through our customer feedback, they happen to be sustainable by nature, right? They just happen to be. They're not pitched that way. So, for example,
sheepdog trials
is one, a bit more long established though, but newer ones like visiting Longmeadow Cider, right? Family owned, they're producing cider and non-alcoholic apple products. There's sustainability at the core of everything they do. And we bring our guests there, they meet the family, they taste the product. This is it's a new experience we added, I believe it was last year, and it's one of the most highly rated experiences. And by default, it's possibly the most sustainable experience we have in our itinerary. So there is a matchup between what customers want and what's sustainable. They just might not use the word sustainable as a customer. They want to meet people. They want to be outdoors. They want to feel like they're getting an experience of what that country has to offer. And that invariably revolves around some form of nature. Now, there's much more we'd love to do, but we have to take the constraints and logistics into consideration. Not everything is appropriate for 40 people to experience at the one time, but we look at the things that can accommodate and see if that's something we can incorporate. And the customer feedback is really, really strong.
Natalia, and I will ask Pere the same question. We got so very highly publicised over-tourism protests. What is your answer to the people who you must meet all the time saying too many tourists?
Well, that I think it happened in certain places in Spain, but I would say that it's mostly, sometimes it's media who makes it like bigger, you know, a bigger thing than it really
Bigger
is.
impact
You
than the
have to
actual
really be
protest.
there and feel it. And once you are, it's not like that. It's not like you read in the papers. But where there are things that are changing, there are laws that are being changed in terms of like, you know, the Airbnbs and everything. So there is a strict law now, stricter than it was before because there was none. And now it's starting to change to be more fair in terms of how, you know, how you basically do the massification of the people and how locals would feel when people come to our places. The case of the city of Malaga, for example, it's been in a growing, you know, constant growing since 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that is a brand new city now. It keeps
It was
growing.
a shabby city.
It keeps
It's now
growing, but
beautiful.
it also keeps expanding. So that's the thing. When you don't find a place to stay in the city of Malaga because it's a crowded time, you can actually go to anywhere in the vicinity, like Torremolinos, my town, for example, or Fuengirola, or Benalmádena.
We're all
Or
going
you
to
go
stay
the
with
other
Natalia
side.
next week.
Or you
How
can go
many
to-
bedrooms do you
Yeah,
have?
I have one.
Well, we'll all fit. Everybody.
Letting you all know, just one. Anyway, no, you're very welcome to stay in the
Pere-
vicinity of my house. Anyway, so yeah, you can also go to the right, to the Axarquía area, which is also very tropical area, and also on the coastline or in the inland, where we have amazing places, amazing, beautiful hotels that are not just a few minutes from the city. That's happening already. It's spreading, and people are very happy to be staying in the area, so not just in where, you know, it's a hot destination. So it's more about the media than any other thing.
Pere, you're half an hour from Barcelona. We couldn't turn on the radio or the television without seeing protests in
Yes,
Barcelona last year.
But that is at one moment, and some people, it's not every people that think that. In Salou, tourismophobia doesn't exist. Why? Because we are implementing policies to balance the local interests and the experiences or the activity of tourism. No? We haven't that. And the result is, I have said that Salou is the 17th city in Spain with the best well-being for residents. We have only, our economy is only touristic, so we have to work with policies, with a council town, that the resident has a very good quality of life. And when you go to a municipality that people has a very high quality of life, the tourists find that. Because we talk about destination, but destination is the city and the municipality. If you have a very good city, a very good municipality, tourists find that. So in Salou, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's really a question, and everybody in the room would be of the same opinion that tourism is a thing for the good, and it's something that has a debate that has sort of changed in Ireland and in other places, that it's no longer being accepted, you know, without question, that it's a good thing. Tourism is beneficial to everyone. Everything you're doing, like changing the seasons, or spreading the largesse, the dispersal of tourists, is part of the fight against that. But it will be a large and slow battle. The problem, and I'd bring Ken in on this, when you're in America or Los Angeles, you really don't want to go to an off the beaten track location. You're going to follow where the imagery is, isn't it? And it will apply to your customers. They all want to go to see the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. You know, they all want to see the tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They were not going to go to somewhere because it's more sustainable. Is that the core? That's a core problem we have to face up to.
That's a really good point. And actually, just to what Pere was saying there, it's true. Like, great places to live make for great places to visit.
Exactly.
And as soon as a place
New
isn't...
York is expensive. Melbourne is expensive. Vancouver is expensive. And people are beating each other up to get there, you know?
Yeah, but you know, So true.
Just South Dublin, just saying.
I was going to say, on a side note, from a personal perspective, my most recent visit to New York was the least enjoyable I had. Because it just wasn't as inviting or interesting as it was. The energy wasn't there. People were just a bit peed off, let's be honest. And as a visitor, I don't want to be surrounded. I'm trying to get away from people who are peed off, you know, and yet here I find myself. But to your question, and apologies for the choice of language, live stream. I've kept it clean up until now. Yeah, you need to strike a balance. Clearly,
Made it to 6 o'clock.
our itineraries are their sales tools. Yeah, so people go, well, if I'm going to Ireland, I definitely want to see A, B, and C because, you know, my friends and family are going to ask me when I come back, did I see those places, right? But as a tour operator, we can be clever around this. You can hit the main points, but you can incorporate lesser known points into the itinerary. So the main points is what sells it. The lesser known points are what make the guests have the best experience. Right? And we look at the Cliffs of Moher and you know, we talk about over-tourism. The Burren area is in a position right now where they're going, are we really sure about this volume of tourism? You know, we know it's good, but has it gotten to a point where it's actually doing more bad than good? So
I've been in that traffic jam and doing it.
you've been in it, and they've changed the traffic patterns. So we decided, I'll just give this one example, and we decided, but the Burren's a really important part of our programmes, and it's an area we love. Oh, well, Irish people do love going to the Burren. It's so unique, so beautiful, so much history and culture and heritage there. So we said, well, through our Sustainability Action Fund, we became involved with a program called Refarm, all right? And Refarm looks for money from private companies, so not government, that will invest in nature-positive farming activities around Ireland. And so we focused on the Burren, and we're working with 15 farming families in the Burren to incorporate conservation grazing through the use of technology. So through the support, we're looking at making farming more viable, but also more in tune with nature. And it's one way of many of saying, we love this area. We know as a business we get great benefit because our guests love being here, but we also know we have a responsibility to ensure that you continue to enjoy living and working in this area. And that just started. That's a program we're involved with for 3 years, and this is the first full year. And it's been great to see. And, you know, you take, as a business, you take immense pride out of seeing the impact that it can have. And I think tourism is ultimately a force for good, and these elements are just further strengthening that message. And it gives us that societal buy-in to do what we do. I don't want to reach a point where the industry I've spent my life working in suddenly is being rejected.
You're the bad guys. And we need to shout it out more. This is good. I'm going to ask every one of you to pick out one good practice for sustainable tourism that you've noticed in your considerable careers and all your knowledge. I'm going to start with Natalia. We'll finish up then, we'll call Antonio up, but I'm aware of the level of knowledge in the room, and if there's a comment or a question from anybody, we'll take that after the four of you have spoken. One thing that you have noticed that is really great for sustainable tourism?
Keeping the tradition of a destination, which is our thing. I mean, we've done it forever. And one of the things that I was talking about, Sabor a Málaga, it's the flavors of Malaga and all. We have year-round. There is food festivals mostly dedicated to maybe one product, like chestnuts.
Cherries or...
cherries, that's summertime. So yeah, the cherries in the summertime up in the mountains, or you can go the chestnuts or any kind of products that we have. You can go anytime, any weekend, like this weekend, the next one, year-round, you're going to find
a food festival.
Some kind of festivity regarding food. And that's part of our tradition, so I think it is fantastic.
Pere, the mayor, we have a Lord Mayor in Dublin, so we'll call you the Lord Mayor of Silo. Pere, the Lord Mayor of Silo, is there one practice in sustainable tourism, one that you would recommend? Or that
well, I think the environmental sustainability is very important. Economical is very
Respect the
important,
environment.
but social too. And the coexistence between tourists and residents. That is the way. Implementing, I have said that, policies that balance local interests with tourism activity is win to win, residents and tourists.
Ken?
You know, it's not, we don't have to go back that far. This type of event didn't exist.
Didn't exist.
Right, so I believe as an industry, these open and transparent conversations that are trying to balance commercial realities with sustainability, I'm going to call them opportunities rather than challenges. Let's frame it in a positive. This is what I've seen as the most encouraging element, that we're willing to get together, discuss these topics in an open way, and then ultimately take some form of action. Some form of action is going to have an impact more than no action at all. So taking the energy from this and implementing an action, it doesn't have to be big. You know, that for me is kind of says to me we're future-proofing this wonderful industry that we work in.
Pat?
Yeah, I think I agree with all of them, and probably at the end of it, it's the storytelling, I think, on the communication. So I'm an ecologist by training. I started in forestry about 20 years ago, trying to save wildlife, and thought that was the most important thing. But if people don't know about it, they won't visit it, or they won't travel to see it, or they won't invest in it. So if we can tell the story of sustainable travel, if we can tell the story of sustainability at the destination and make people aware of reforestation, of coastal paths, of farming opportunities, that partnerships that exist, and communicate, understand the impacts we have, and then understand the benefits that travel can bring and deliver as well. So I think that storytelling that Irish people are inherently, we like to think we're good at, Spanish people as well, love a bit of the chat. So if we
Flamenco dance.
Exactly. So if we can embed the sustainability at the destination with the traditions, with the new initiatives that are happening, and tell that story, we can make a positive impact. And that's what people want. Why are we doing sustainability? There's a crisis in climate and biodiversity. But there's a profitability out of it too. Customers and consumers want it. So let's embrace it. Let's tell the story of sustainability in the travel and at the destination, and try and bring it together for everyone.
I see a lot of nodding, and is there anybody from the audience would like to make a contribution to our discussion here? It's a small enough room, we don't even need a roving mic. Thank you very much to my wonderful panel. I think we've got a lot to think about and a lot to talk about out of what we've spoken about this afternoon.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you.